So in fact, we asked our employees, you're allowed to do anything for 1 hour outside of what you're currently doing. And we allot that as your hour of learning. So if you want to spend an hour learning how to learn how to do crochet, go ahead. You know, if you want to take 1 hour to learn how to learn a different language, go ahead. If you want to learn a different aspect of the business, go ahead. We allot an hour a day of learning. Well, okay. Before I lay out how our culture was at the space, let me give you an idea of what the culture I hated about was.
Yes.
Right. I came from corporate, as I mentioned, and I was in sales. So you can imagine corporate sales is not the most relaxing environment in the world. We would have meetings on meetings upon meetings discussing the same things over and over again. So I found it unproductive. That's one. I'm not saying this is the company-wide thing, but also because the people in leadership, at least in the Philippines, prefer to scold us rather than leave us to our work. You know, we had a boss that would spend 4 hours lecturing us rather than, okay, if he just told us that we did it wrong and then try to fix it and then go off and fix it, it would have been done by now. But no, a lot of time was wasted in meetings. So a lot of stress was that. No, the stress was at some point, my co-sales and I would always be coming to work saying, which one of us is going to get which one of us is going to get scolding today? You know, if it's not inventory of this guy, it's going to be the sales of this one. If it's not be the margins of that person, it's going to be the numbers for that person next month. So it's always something. So you're coming to work dragging your feet. I literally hated my job at that point. Like I actually resigned 4 times, but they kept asking me not to. So at some point,
unsuccessfully resigned.
Yeah. Unsuccessfully resigned. I was getting fed up. So it built up. And funny thing is, I was with them for 4 years. But the last straw really was when I was my first ever vacation in 4 years, right? First, I didn't have a single vacation then. I was in Siargao and I wanted to just detach. It was a really stressful time. The fact that my bosses expected me to bring a laptop was just, wait a minute, that's not right. I'm not a robot. I needed this. I told you about this months ago. I prepared everything and you expect me to still work. So when I got back home, because they were on the phone with me and saying, like, why didn't you bring your laptop? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'm on vacation. When people in Singapore are on vacation, you don't bother them. Why are you bothering me? Right. So again, I came back home from Siargao. I was like, here's my resignation letter. I'm no longer accepting your extensions or whatnot.
Wow.
So I left without anything. And then not knowing that eventually I was going to put up this company. So I left without, thinking, I was just fed up, man. I was just like, I don't give it. I don't like this anymore. And to be quite honest, kasi rin, I always saw myself as a business person rather than an employee. I took that route to learn what I could. No? I never saw myself as being a career employee. Kudos to those that do. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, but that's not me. So eventually put up Makerspace Manila. So when we did put it up, I told my partners, like, number one, the culture has to be not like I used to have. I told them about it. So that's where it was, and they loved it also. They were saying like, yeah, I don't like that either. Let's try to cut the red tape. Let's make sure that the employees will have open access to us. We made sure that it wasn't a partisan employee status, that we would hire our own relatives, nothing like that. Naman. No, so we try to keep things above the table every time. To the point that when of course, this is not something we predicted. You know what I mean? It's something that you build and iterate and fail at and then improve until it just became a better thing. So we had an idea of what we wanted and we built towards it. And as you mentioned, sometimes it changes, sometimes it evolves. And we just rolled with it. No? So until it became something that we were quite happy with. To the point, like, what would our culture be if you looked at it? Number one, we were very open to each other. If there was a problem, tell us. I'm not gonna scream at you for screwing up, but I will try to get to the bottom of it. Number two is the being I want people to be more independent. We didn't want people to be micromanaged. So if you're going to come to me, make sure that you're coming to me with a proposed solution rather than just coming to me with just a problem.
Yeah.
Which I mentioned earlier. Third was being able for them to know what they want from the company. What does that mean? Like, we told them, this is what I have. This is what we're building. And I asked them, are you willing to do this, this, and this? Because if I'm going to hire you, I'm not just going to use this. I'm not just going to develop you in this area. Would you be willing to be developed in this, and this area? So when we hired that person, for example, that handled our accounting, we asked her, what areas of your development path that you want to be developed? So she wanted to also handle the admin part. Not sure, we'll do that. Do you want to do a little bit of the facilitation if needed? Sure, I want to do that because I want to improve my skills. So we gave those opportunities to people. Even the guy that I mentioned earlier, we gave him, he was my operations head already before he left. So when he started out, he was just my facilitator, right? Okay, you will start off as my facilitator. I will train you to be able to be confident to talk to people. And in fact, I gave him as a Christmas gift this exact same book.
Play the Part.
It's called Play the Part. It's about mastering. Yeah, it's mastering body signals to connect and communicate for business success. A very good book. I gave him one for his Christmas gift, and he loved it. And the thing is we again, it's a relationship, really. You know, if you don't develop a relationship with your people, you won't know what's wrong.
Yeah.
So I actually knew what he was going through, what his inhibitions were. Like, he was not a confident public speaker.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show him how he could improve that by giving him the materials to do so. And the good thing about it was he was very receptive to it. In fact, he was reading everything I was giving him. So and actually practicing it. So that's why I saw a lot of improvement when it came to his executions and being able to talk to clients. So being able to identify weaknesses early on allows you to modify those weaknesses and turn them into a strength. So we would have a quarterly review leading up towards an annual review. So during the quarterly review, we identify, for example, what weaknesses they think they have, what would they like to have to learn, and then compare it to what we as managers see. There's always a conversation about development going on. It's not just, okay, do your thing, we'll leave you alone for the next 6 months. You know, we're always taking care of the people. And I'm a firm believer of investing in the people that we hire, because that's why for me it becomes expensive to hire and rehire, because if a person leaves after I put that much effort into that person's development, it's a lot of time that I can't get back. A lot of knowledge that I've been passing down that I can no longer get back.
Right.
So that's why I value a lot in the interview portions.
So there's a I'm kind of putting it into a few words, which I know doesn't do justice, right? But it's a culture of openness. It's a culture where it's the opposite of fear, and having that culture allows you to continuously improve everybody, which leads to the last thing you said, which is investing. It's a culture of investing in people, and having that open culture enables you to invest in your people.
Succinctly, yes. I think you've hit the nail on it. Like earlier you were saying about the stressful interview scenarios, right? A lot of that is best foot forward, and when they're in the office, they try to maintain that best foot the entire time. But for us, we wanted to embrace who they were and allow them to just grow as they were, no? And find what they wanted to grow in as well. So I think that's very, very important, because if I dictate, I want you to go here, but they were seeing themselves going in this direction, then there's already an automatic disconnection between you and your staff. So
some business leaders that I've spoken to have a mentality that I don't believe in people. I believe that I'm the best, and I either want people to be like me, or I don't expect people to be as good as me, or I don't believe that they can be better than me. I've actually met some people who, of course, they're not going to say that way, right? But
Yeah.
in a way, that's their idea. So I think what, from what you've been describing, I feel that you believe in people.
I try to, yeah. That's the end goal. Sometimes
Yeah.
they disappoint you, but that's life.
Yeah.
But even what you just said, no, I have a personal belief also that if I am the most intelligent person in a room, then I'm in the wrong room.
Mm.
Because I believe in constant growth.
Mm.
This is something my partner and I also constantly try to instill in the employees that we've had. No, try to improve yourself. Be a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. So in fact, we asked our employees, you're allowed to do anything for 1 hour outside of what you're currently doing. And we allot that as your hour of learning. So if you want to spend an hour learning how to uh, learn how to do crochet, go ahead.
Mm.
You know, if you want to take 1 hour to learn how to learn a different language, go ahead. If you want to learn a different aspect of the business, go ahead.
Mm.
We allot an hour a day of learning. So this is why,
Right.
like, I would give people books.
Mm.
It sounds nerdy, but they appreciated that because they would spend that hour learning, and sometimes we would just discuss, and they would not notice that it's part of the workday. Um, so that's again, that's just part of all the culture that we I would say accidentally, because a lot of it were not intentional.
Mm.
It's just something that was natural to my partner and I, that we wanted that type of environment, so we exuded that. I guess it wasn't
Yeah.
like at the start of the business inception palang, we were like, oh, we have
Mm.
to do this now. It wasn't
Yeah. Yeah.
that contrived. It just
Yeah.
happened. It just
Yeah.
developed into that. And it's that really. If you think that you're always going to be the best and people need to aspire to be like you, then you're already setting yourself up for failure, because that doesn't leave much room for people to start to improve.
Mm.
And that means that you will be taking on more work than you should.
Yeah.
Because in any business, for any business to be successful, it's always going to be, the bottleneck will be at the head. So if everything has to go through that person, then dead. And for my partner and I, we always believe if the business requires us to run, then it's not a good business, or it's not set up properly.
Right. Right.
So we try to make it so that our people are independent of us. During our interview processes, I would ask the interviewee rather, to talk to them, my employees. So it's more of like, okay, we start off with a conversation with me and my partner, or if sometimes just me, or sometimes just my partner. But at some point, all right, I'll introduce you to the team here. Talk to them, ask them what their day is like. So again, it's part of that journey still. And this is, mind you, this is still the interview stage. Like, I never had that opportunity. I only got to see that part of the office, for example, when I'm progressing into the contract signing, and then they start introducing me around. But have you ever experienced on the first interview that you're talking to members of the team casually and asking them about, go ahead, talk to them. I tell them, go ahead, talk to them. Ask them about their day here. Ask them about their journey here. And I love doing that, because the people that are in my team back then always had great stories to tell, because their own journeys reflected exactly the culture that we were trying to build. So I would say I used their stories to kind of make sure that, okay, that's the culture. So more often than not, these people who interviewed with us are like, I like it here. It's fun. It's something different. It's not the usual type of office environment that you get to experience. So I'd like to end whatever everything that I've said with a quote that I love to share to people. It's by Alvin Toffler. He's a futurist and American writer.
Sorry,
he says, Alvin Toffler.
Okay.
Alvin Toffler. So what he said was, the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read nor write, but rather those that cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. This quote, very important to us, because this is part of the culture that we've built. And this encompasses everything that we've discussed today, from the interview all the way up to the culture. That's the idea behind it. So at early onset stage, we share that with them.
Mm.
I need you to be able to unlearn everything you think you know and open up
Yeah.
your mind to learning new things.